Alright, welcome back to episode 61 of History Rewritten. In the last episode, we had World War III, which, that's a pretty big event, I feel like. So looking at the map, it looks entirely different. The Russians look, I zoomed out too much. Anyway, the Russians look absolutely terrifying at this point, with a huge amount of territory, loads of stuff in Central Asia, a border on the Caspian Sea, and the Green Team's capital being in danger. Maybe one nuclear spot, and like 3 cities that have had atomic bombs dropped on them. However, the Russians did gain a load of nukes. So Russia's now on 181. That's right, 181 nuclear bombs. Atomic bombs, I mean, and 113 nuclear bombs. So that is an awful lot. The Green Team had all of theirs taken, so the Green Team isn't a nuclear power anymore. I mean, they're still pretty strong, and these territories, their core stuff, so they've got, this is also kind of, they've got lots of their important land. I could have made that mintish coloured nation again, but I didn't. I made this thing. But they still have, a tiny bit of information, so theoretically, if they got enough money and support, they could make some more nukes. However, it's going to be tricky for them. We did have the rise of a new nuclear power, and that is the Crimean nation. So Crimea was given 30 atomic bombs and 20 nuclear bombs. The Green Team's nukes, half of them went to Russia, the other half the atomic as well. And then they split the remaining ones between India and Crimea. Just realized the Red Team exists, so I might just give the Red Team 10 from each of you guys. You're gonna go down to 15. Maybe the Lime Team. To be fair, the Lime Team, you need to give up some stuff. You're on 25 nukes now, and you're only on 30. Yes, you're 7. Sorry, I just realized I kind of forgot the Red Team was in this war. Anyway, just put the Red Team up to 110 atomic bombs. Really, they just wanted to hurt these guys because they were scared of them, and they were in the Cold War against them. But they've left now, and I don't think any countries got destroyed. We just have a lot of weaker countries, like this one, who's had multiple atomic bombs dropped on them. This one's still communist, despite everything. So is this Kenyan nation. Still have communist Kenya. Other than that, though, all the communist nations have fallen apart. So that's good. End to communism. Nice. And the world's kind of happy. The World War III started in 1993, which is 2 years after the Soviet Union fell in our timeline, and ended in 1997. So we're closer to 2000s, which is good. Yippee. And the Cold War has ended, so people are generally around the world happy, except for the huge economic crash which has occurred due to the fact that Russia is really low money because they fought in World War III, and the Green Team, the second strongest economic power in the world, has collapsed. Well, not collapsed, but lost a huge war. So China is the second strongest country, followed by the Red Team. But Bengal, you have the potential to go places. And the USB also jumped up quite a lot during that time period because they were good at supplying things whilst these guys were in the middle of a huge war. So that's nice. And you should hopefully get a bit stronger. Speaking of the Grey Team and the Crimean nation, just after World War III, you can end up losing some land. And that is to this new Caucasian Union that I made in the last episode in the peace treaty of World War III. Well, kind of after that. They take some territories that are naturally theirs from these two guys. They're kind of happy to do that. They get a load of money from it. So that's good, because you really need money at this point. Really. You really need money. This Caucasian country is, of course, staying in the Russian alliance, which is possibly a bit like NATO, but if it was made by Eastern countries, or Eastern European countries. So that looks nice, and yeah. The Russians now trying to influence all this stuff. Their ally, the blue Tibetan country, is terrifying now. You're really strong. And everyone hates this pink one, so that's good. And you're also falling apart, so you might get annexed by the Indians sometime soon. Anyway, time to send the prisoners of war back, I think. Uh-oh. Were you listening when I talked about the lore dump in the last episode? I hope you were, because it was important. You may remember me saying about how the Russians, when they declared war on the Green Team, were led by a group of new Siberian political party who wanted to end the Cold War. They were quite extremist in the ways they did things. They're very militaristic, and Russia should have more cities, I think. Oh well. Anyway, another thing I mentioned is that they threw the other opposing political parties, like their leaders and important people in those groups, into prison. Great. So the people, they're just, setting free all the prisoners of war they've gathered, and they discovered that in their prisons there's a load of people who used to rule their country. And they're going to question the government, be like, dude, why are all our old politicians in these prison places? What's going on here? And the government's just going to go to Siberia. In Siberia, what are they going to do? Well, declare independence. So, yeah, this is possibly gone not how the world expected it, as in 1998 we have the Russian Civil War occur. Yep. If the world economy couldn't get any worse, well, you'd be wrong, it just got a lot worse. So the Russians are getting support from various nations around the world. Not the Green Team. I can tell you it's not the Green Team. They're not supporting this Siberian thing. Unfortunately for the actual Western Russian nation, the allies can't really support them all that much, because their allies are having to rebuild their own countries. It's kind of difficult to support this huge country against a huge rebellion, which, by the way, it's taking land quickly. You've got countries in Western Europe supplying them, but also, a lot of use those supplies are doing when the people don't want to fight. It's like, hey, soldiers, we've got a problem here. We need to fight ourselves. You got that? Yeah, so basically we need to beat ourselves up in a fight. Okay? And you just fought in World War III, not 4 yet. For Russia, you might end up fighting in World War IV. I'm not sure entirely. And we also want you to go fight against the Russians. Wait a minute, you are Russian. We want you to fight against your own people. So this, over here in Siberia, the people are very nationalistic. It's like leads this bit, but establishing their own state. It was kind of like backup plan, maybe for this government, and the whole world is just crying because the entire world's economy is crying. This is not a happy day at all for just everywhere in the world. The Russians are really unable to stop this. They've got a few soldiers, but over here you've got a huge armed militia thing, just loads of people with weapons, and also they're receiving supplies from other countries. Which other countries? This country, this Baikal thing, and another one. Don't know who that is, but it is somebody else who is supplying them, and will probably be revealed sometime soon. So I might try and speed it along. Basically, people are urging the Russians, maybe quit, give them the stuff they've got at the moment. We can easily, once we've rebuilt, take down this nation in the future. Baikal is in prime position. They're going to have to put their capital probably somewhere in the south. Baikal can just take that, and the Sakhalin's over there as well. Sakhalin is, if you forgot, still a colonial power. I actually forgot. They're just, even though they're probably the second biggest nation in the world, maybe Canada is, despite that, they're just sitting there perfectly still. I didn't see this colony, technically this is a colony, all this, or even, I don't know, this huge colony they've got that nobody appears to know about. Yep, they're just standing, it's like Drax, they're just standing so still. They're invisible. However, after about a year of fighting against this huge wall of Siberians, the Russians are feeling more and more inclined to let them get independence. Also the Eastern Russians have got a couple nukes now, and that's really not good, because you sent a load over to deal with stuff in the east, protect their eastern border, in case something bad happens over there. And yeah, now they have nuclear and atomic bombs. Lovely stuff. You did really well at that. So, in the end, the Russians are going to decide to try and sign to peace with this group. And I mean, yeah, also the political party you threw together. You basically took a load of your best politicians and said, right, we'll run a government, fight a civil war, and that sounds alright, you know, you got all your most intelligent politicians and important people to run a government together. However, they all have extremely different views on things. So basically, yeah, just nobody agreed, and they spent ages deciding on things, and then things would all go wrong. It's like, oh great, they've got more atomic and nuclear bombs, and the Lime team's just sitting there going, right, I think you should drop an atomic bomb on all their cities. Like, no, Lime team, we made a treaty about not doing that, which you completely defied. I mean, so did the Green team, but so did you. So, yeah, I don't know. Nobody's really sure. And now they're going to try and negotiate a peace treaty in which they divide up this sort of thing. I mean, like, the government you have over here in the East, it's the old government that won World War III. I mean, if that gives you any indication on how skilled they might be. I mean, I hope it does, because they're skilled. They won World War III for you. Of course, they're good at stuff. And also, they've been planning this for a while, along with their major ally, the Light Grey team. That's right. You know, they wanted to get close to the Green team so they could get closer dealing with this stuff, spying on the Russians. So this is our newest state. I mean, it doesn't really look like they've taken the major economic parts of Russia, because they haven't. They've just taken the resource-heavy bits, and the bits where the actual Siberians live. So yeah, it's kind of an even split. We just have to see what they do in the future. Speaking of stuff they do, I don't know what I was going from there. They will be annexing this northern part of Baikal. They knew this was going to happen, so they launched a big old rebellion thing from Baikal. Said, we want our independence, because we'd also like to join Siberia. If they hadn't discovered the prisoners of war, then they would probably just join the actual Russian nation, which would eventually have been led from Siberia. That was the plan of these guys. So yeah, I mean, that was definitely an interesting turn. And 1998, halfway through that year, that's when the Russian Civil War will end. Speaking of nuclear and atomic bombs, Siberia, you've got some now. Oh no, for the world. Because these guys, as I said before, are kind of extremist. Yippee! No, not yippee. So basically, all the government people that Europe's been dealing with for absolutely ages, making deals with, are now ruling this nation that Europe's meant to hate. So that's fun. How many nukes did they take? I mean, proportionally, I'm trying to think, because they didn't do that beforehand. The Russians are, or the Western Russians, I suppose. I'm gonna say Russia and Siberia, because this is like, I mean, this is kind of like proper Russia. This is Siberia. The Russians are on 181 nukes. They are now going to go down to 152, which leaves the Siberians with a total of 29 for their nation. I might give them a bit more. Yeah, let's put the Russians down to 125. So that means that these Siberians, and atomic bombs at least, they have taken, how many is that? 56 atomic bombs, which is quite a lot. They also got a load of information on how to build more. So yeah, that's not good. The Russians are on 113 nuclear bombs. They're going to straight up lose 40. Pushing them down to 73 nuclear bombs, and it's kind of evening it all out with China. Because China has 86 atomic bombs, so Russia's got a lot more of those. However, they have 72 nuclear bombs, whilst the Russians have 73. So yeah, this is really good if you're Chinese, because you just had like the best day of your life. Basically, all your old friends from World War II and World War I, they're not doing so great. These guys especially aren't. But you, I mean, you don't even developed the atomic or the nuclear bomb. It was the green team. They developed both of those, and they might develop more things in the future. However, you profited probably the most of this stuff. That's great. And here's the new borders of Northern Asia. Lovely stuff. We'll see what they do in the future. How about their capital city? Well, they're going to make one. That's right. They appoint some random place in the middle of Russia, their capital. And by the middle of Russia, I mean the northern bit. Right. Lovely stuff. Might build them some more cities. Good job. Let's go somewhere else, shall we? Somewhere happier, maybe. Let's go to Iberia. Now, Iberia has been in the news recently because of the Moroccans. These guys, Granada fell apart. I mean, you had this thing. These guys annexed Ibiza. So, first off, changing your colour. You're now yellow. That wasn't really important. I suppose they just changed their flag or something like that. I don't know. So there we go with that. However, other actually important stuff, we have the Grenadans joining the North African Alliance. This with Catalonia, Catalonia, Senegal, Libya, and Egypt. And the other country joining the alliance, the last one, well, actually no, I forgot you guys, yeah, is Iberia, who is going to be finally joining the Western European Alliance. When it got created, Western Europe, when Western European Alliance got created, the Iberians were in the North African Alliance, which consisted of you guys, along with all three of you and the Italians who were just on Corsica. So you couldn't really join this alliance because you were already in the second rendition of the North African Alliance. So there's that. Sorry. I just remembered something else I need to say about you guys. Do you recognize this colour? I hope you do, because it's the Green Team puppet from World War II. That rhymed. Cool. Yeah, it's the Green Team puppet from World War II. Basically, when the Green Team made their puppet, their fascist puppet, at least from 1930s, it was fascist. They took the huge ethnic group from there and said, like, right, well, you're going to be your own country now. And that sort of inspired this, so in an interesting way, the Green Team still damaged them probably the most. So that's why this is the old colour. And I knew this was going to happen, I mean, ages before World War II, but like, yeah, I knew this was going to happen. It's been planned for a long time. So that's good. The Eastern Russians are also developing their own alliance. This is between them and the Light Grey Team. So if we look at alliances, the Green Team alliance doesn't exist anymore, which is sad because I liked it. I liked all the cool Asian countries. I like this a lot. This purple looks really nice. So, Siberian alliance, a Siberian syndicate, no, Siberia and Light Grey Team. We'll see if they do anything else in the future. They might. Well, they will. Don't worry. They're guaranteed to be quite important, I think. Just, like looking at the effect this has had on the world. So yeah, we're approaching the 2000s, I mean, 1998, 1999, we're getting very, very close to that sort of time period. And I think in the early 2000s, I mean, I was born in the 2000s. I mean, like, not 2010s, but in the 2000s. We had economic crash. Yeah, this one's like 10 times worse. This is so much worse. Like, the top world economies have just collapsed. We don't have the US and China collapse in the early 2000s. No, but we do here. So yeah, everyone's having a really horrible time. And let's maybe take some of this anger out on various countries around the world who are having to my god, I can't talk. Who will have to give up some of their territory because I wonder why. Yet they're suffering a huge economic collapse. First up, we've got And this one, so the Vietnamese will be forced to give over this, and they don't like trading with China, which kind of meant that once China became the #1 economy, which is what they are at this point, yeah, they were kind of screwed. And they didn't trade with the USB either. Because now the USB is getting very close to surpassing. I mean, if you look at power rankings now, I don't. It's weird because the Russians, they're still strong, but are they stronger than the red team? I don't know. Probably just slightly. So the top 3 nations in the world, probably still China, Russia, and the red team. However, different ranking order. And Bengal and the USB are very close to surpassing them. So yeah, USB might, well, they've surpassed Bengal at this point. The USB is now the 4th strongest nation in the world, and they could even surpass the red team and even the Russians, and maybe even China. So we'll see sometime in the future. Anyway, as for that independent Filipino state, I might change the color, I think, just because it's a bit hard to see. I'll make it this color, that looks nice. Yeah. This is not a strong country, so maybe this wasn't very nice to just force this country out in the middle of a huge economic crash. However, oh well, we'll deal with it. Next up, we've got this. The Salmon Nation was definitely not going to be able to keep all this territory. I don't know why anyone thought they would be able to keep it. There's just no way that they would be able to. What color do we make it? I don't know. I'm confused what to do. I want to find it quickly. I'm not sure. Something like this. That's good enough. There you go. New Australian nation. Yippee. And once again, only one major city. So what a great time to be an independent state. Yay. China, no, not China. Victoria is definitely not going to annex you in the future. Annexations though, we have this country over here buying some land. Probably wasn't the best idea. However, you're going to buy the island from the Timor nation because Timor is not having a good day. Their economy is not happy. New Zealand has only just survived giving up a load of their territory. As for other places in the world, I mean, you are not having a good day. This red Indian country is really not having a nice time. They might very well collapse sometime soon. You know where collapses happen? The best place for collapses? Africa. West Africa, to be exact. And who do I want to collapse today? Unfortunately, it's you, my salmon friend. There's too many pinkish salmon countries around the world. And your economy is going to go absolutely bankrupt. Starting off. And these guys will be annexing a bit of this. Could you just do a straight line thing, please? Thank you. There you go. Right, so Mr. Straight Line Country, who everyone loves. Look at these beautiful borders. I mean, they're not as beautiful now because not all the borders in Africa are straight lines. That's the problem. The Grey team will also move in here in the north. And you guys taking a bit of this. And you guys are going to buy some of this. As you purchase a bit of this land. And you will get this. As for the remainder of the country, it will stay as its own state. It will survive. Africa is being surprisingly, well, I wouldn't say it's stable, but not as unstable as it could be. It could be a lot worse. Grey Team has just got really ugly borders that I hate in Grey Team, kind of. And I like it just because it's so horrific to look at. But that's also why I hate it. And hating it makes much more sense. You get to take their capital city, which, I mean, that's good. However, the people in the capital don't want to be in this nation anymore. Like, they don't want to. So you've done pretty well to get that. And as this blue nation, yeah, you could definitely become the strongest country in like this West African area. You probably are, to be fair. If you don't count Senegal, you probably are. And your new capital is going to be up here in this city. The people actually didn't break away, so that's nice. Orange team is on the collapse watch though, so that's scary for you guys. Otherwise in Africa, I mean, there's a lot of not doing well countries. Yeah, I mean, they're fine at the moment. We'll see. Might return here later in the episode. Going over to South America, I mean, this episode is mostly about Russian Civil War and economic collapse. Going over to South America, we have this country, this spacious one, getting split between some of its neighbors. As kind of just falls into anarchy. I mean, anarchism. What a great ideology. So the green team, this goldish coloured nation in the north, and the blue country down here in the south, are all going to be able to snatch up some of its territory. It was never a strong country economically. They have one major city, and it's its capital. And that ended up going to the dark blue nation over here, this like North Chile thing, Chile. So that's nice for them, but I mean, the territory is not great, although it's just mountains. So yeah. And the green country will become even longer. And they might go coast to coast, just like the Brazilians, however, really thin. Blue team's also giving it a go, so that's nice. As for this city, it's not going to stay as your capital, unfortunately. Yeah, that's a shame that this can't stay as the capital. Lovely stuff. Made South America just look a slight bit nicer. Moving on up to North America, who's collapsing up here. To be fair, most of these North American nations are doing alright, really. The 13 colonies, Quebec, California, Cascadia, Texas-ish, Louisiana thing. You know, their economic growth is really good. Even down here in Central America, they're doing quite well. And I might return here, and I don't want to make this episode too long. But one last thing, Florida's doing well as well. Most of these nations are doing quite well. Even Panama, despite losing World War II, they're doing fine. But the thing happening today is the Floridans need to support their economy better. Now, how are you going to support your economy better? Well, what about an invasion of the Bahamas? So if you couldn't guess, that goes really well. Because you know who's suffering more than Florida? The Bahamas. So yeah, they beat the Bahamas easily in a war. And now they've got most of the Bahamas. Not all of it, but most of it. So that's nice. And it is, unfortunately, the loss of another country, but it wasn't that bad. Moving on to Central America, though, we have the Nicaraguan and the Costa Rican half of Central America country deciding to leave their respective alliances, the Aegean and the Russian one, as they declare their own new alliance, the Central American Alliance. There are lots of alliances, which is realistic. I don't want to put too many countries in alliances, because otherwise there's no wars, no easy wars. However, we have Costa Rica and Nicaragua. That's in capitals. It's not helpful. But they want to add a new country to their alliance, and looky here, we have a new one just over here. The light dark blue. Well, let's not do that. Let's name it. I don't know. El Salvador. Kind of is El Salvador. You've got Honduras. This is Guatemala. Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama. You've got to be El Salvador, unfortunately. So yeah, more cooperation between these three guys, which is good, and they might even convince them to join, but probably not. Just looking at their history, Yucatan, these guys maybe. I mean, lots of opportunity. Maybe even some of the Caribbean. You know, that could be good. I just had a thought. I don't think I'm going to go through that thought, because I think I might end the episode here. I mean, it was an interesting episode. Might do more economic collapse stuff in the next episode. We'll have to see. World looks sad, but we have arrived in 1999 at this point. So yeah, next episode we will be in the 2000s, which is crazy. Like that's mad, dude. That's crazy. I need to update the alliances. Yeah. See you again soon. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you again next time. Subscribe.